Welcome to Organizational Sherlocks, the podcast where business meets psychology and your organizational puzzles meet their match.
Join us for captivating stories and practical solutions to unravel your toughest challenges.
I'm Dr. Elizabeth Fleming.
And I'm Morgan Ashworth, your guides to a prescription for business success.
Well, let's dive in. Well, hello, listeners. We're all happy to have you here, and I am even more excited to introduce you to two of my mentees, two individuals that I have known for several years throughout the doctorate program at St. Mary's University in Minnesota. And I would sit here and try to introduce you to forever and ever and ever, but I'm going to let you do that because I'm sure you'll do better than I would. So Kate, would you mind introducing yourself? Tell us who you are and kind of where are you at in your educational journey?
Yeah, so I'm Kate, and I am now in the fourth year of the doctorate program here at St. Mary's. So earning my PsyD with a clinical interest in the overlap between health and psychology. And as part of the program, we do a formalized mentorship. And after taking a few classes with Dr. Fleming, decided that her area of interest was my area of interest for mentorship. And so here we are. That's how I got signed on.
Yeah, well, thank you. We're excited to have you here and excited to hear about your journey. Barbara, would you mind introducing yourself as well?
Yes. So I'm Barbara Stokes. I am also a fourth-year student in St. Mary's University of Minnesota in the doctoral degree they have for counseling psychology. I met Dr. Fleming too in classes before, and every opportunity I had, I was able to ask her questions. I've always been interested in this intersection of the job and how psychology applies to that and how people find that satisfaction and that kind of how they keep on going with that. So we had a lot of conversations and that made me think, okay, what about if I would try that for myself? Like if I like it. So I'm here in mentorship trying to see how this real world looks like. And I'm very excited for that opportunity. I think it's a unique thing that I want to get all the benefits I get from. Yeah.
Great. Thanks, Barbara. Well, Morgan, do you want to, I feel like I'm just tossing the mic over and over,
Yes.
But it's kind of fun. Do you want to kind of maybe give a little bit of information about why mentorship, like why we chose that this month and kind of all of that? Would you mind?
Yeah, I think we can. I mean, that's why we see you mentoring us into speaking, right? The delegation method of mentorship to an extent right now. But no, I mean, mentorship is so important to both Elizabeth and myself. I have mentors or mentees on the side that I do work with, separate from work, separate from anything, really. I just want to connect with people, help counsel them in their careers and ensure that they're on the right paths for themselves. I mean, many people know we've referred to our IO behind the scenes. He was one of my mentees and he's still working with us to this day. So I mean, mentorship is so important just for the fact of kind of what we touched on earlier in another episode, talking about how you can have mentorships in a company, you can have mentorships outside of companies, you can have mentorships in schooling programs. And having that mentor really gives you this one-to-one personal touch in your learning that you wouldn't get if you were just part of that 250-person seminar or even 20-person seminar. You're not going to get the same level of personalization to help you, build your career in a way that's meant for you. It helps you target what you want to do, helps you create your own stepping stones that's personalized, and it's not just a blueprint stepping stone. I mean, we talk about how intervention methods need to be applied to the company, specified to the company. They can't just be a blueprint intervention method. So same thing for mentorship and with education. Not every one size fits all, right? So
Yeah.
That's why mentorship is so important. And I'm excited that we have Elizabeth's mentees on with us today.
Yeah, I am as well. I know that, there's a lot of, again, like you said, that blueprint method, there's a lot of different ways people apply mentorship within the business world, within academia, all of that. And, there's more informal mentorships. I know we've talked about that before. Like, one of our previous guests, Dan Stoltz, had mentioned kind of having that informal mentor. And then there's the more formalized programs. And I would like to say, and I'd love Kate and Barbara's opinion on this. I kind of think that the the mentorship program at St. Mary's is a little bit of a hybrid where it is formalized because, let's be honest, you have to do it in order to get your degree, right? There's a formalized component to it, but it's also customized and tailored to you and your interests. So I'm curious if either one of you or both of you could share a little bit about kind of your experience so far and what value, I guess, you think that formalized mentorship brings to the table.
Yeah,
Don't jump at once. Just kidding.
I agree. I think that this is really a hybrid. We were able to, you and I were able to collaborate and kind of discuss what I was looking for to get out of mentorship and kind of create a path forward that fit well for us. There is, like program requirements that needed to be in there, but I think there's a lot of value in just the flexibility that you brought to the process and that St. Mary's allows with the process. And I appreciate the way that they've created and cut out this time to specialize in mentorship and emphasize the importance of finding someone in the field that can take your interest and show you how it's applied in the field over time. And so I think that's the value of the flexibility that St. Mary's creates, this open-ended version of mentorship that's still a formalized contract.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah, thank you. Barbara, what do you think?
I love the idea of mentorship. I was thinking about what kind of imagery comes to mind when I think about mentorship. And I think it's like when you think about psychology, you think there's so many specialties you could have that having a mentorship helps you to kind of try a flavor, right? It's like going to your favorite shop for ice cream. Like there's so many flavors you may want to try. You cannot try them all at once. You may try, right? But you need to kind of make your mind, what are you going to try today? So mentorship gives you that. You go and try that flavor. And if that flavor is for you, you feel that that's your field. And what a way to enter, what a way to connect with people. I think that I wish this would be something that would be in more fields, more formal, right? Because we have the like things that are not that formal, but it reminds me of one of my clients one time told me, in my job, I wish somebody would have taken me like there where I needed to work and show me what to do. But they were expecting me to know it. And he was super sad about that. Like they were expecting something he couldn't give because he didn't have somebody to guide him through it.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's such a great value on that, knowing that you're telling, hey, we're here for you, to the person that is new. And on the other hand, it has some value for the mentor too. You're transferring those skills to the new generation and sharing what you are good at. So I see a win-win in mentorship, and I'm happy to participate in something like that.
Yeah, what you said there, Barbara, actually reminded me of another conversation we had where we talked about, you go into a position and you train for a position, then you go into that management position, and then you train somebody else to take your position later on. That's kind of like the role of a mentor in a sense. And it brings so much value. I mean, if you want the people of tomorrow to lead how you're leading today, you want to make sure that you teach them how to do that and follow in your own footsteps. So that is so important. I mean, I know there's, especially with Iowa psychology, individuals and psychology in general, or even just people that get a general business degree and don't know what they want to do. There's so many different fields out there, and there's so many different industries that you could get involved in. So how do you see all of them? How do you get a taste of all of them, as you say? And it's, well, maybe you work with a mentor who has the same, goals, values, something along those lines as you, same interests, and they can tell you what is out there for you. They can mold you, but then they're also building their own skills, their own people skills, their own leadership capabilities, and ensuring that this next person can continue to purport those same values.
And it's even, I think too, just even from like a business perspective, I mean, I think it's a fun way to, like you said, build your skills and also see like who's out there, right? I mean, who might I be missing because they think that this isn't the right path for them, right? I think that can be pretty cool too. I've actually, seen, not through this mentorship at St. Mary's, but through a company mentorship program that I was I would say coordinating. I wasn't running it because it wasn't, whatever. Anyway, that's fine. We won't get down that rabbit hole. But, just how cool it was that by connecting mentors, like one person was in a job role that they thought, my goodness, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. And through that mentorship program, experienced new things and actually made a jump, still in the same industry, right? But in a different type of role. And I think there's a lot of power in that just from a business perspective, and the idea of getting, the right people in the right seats and helping them feel fulfilled.
Yes.
So, yeah.
I know when I talk to a lot of IO students that they're all like, oh, I want to go into L&D or learning and development, so training related. But so many people discount consumer psychology if they love psychometrics, if they love the statistics. They discount consumer psychology so much. And I'm like, what if you went into the sales sphere with this? You might make a company exponentially more successful by applying your psychology skills to marketing and sales. And then it turns into an L&D with training and teaching the sales team how to approach people. People forget that these different departments that exist in a company can also be applicable to your program or vice versa. But I want to get to know Barbara and Kate. I want to get to know you guys a little bit more because this is the first time we've met. So I want to get to know, what does the mentorship program look like for you, week to week, month to month, day to day? Is there any requirements on your side, or, what does it look like?
Well, I think when you were talking about values before, that really, one, I'm a values-driven practitioner. Values-congruent behavior is kind of my lens and focus. But as you discussed that, we have some autonomy and choice within the doctoral program, but limited. And you may get to choose, a variety of classes that you get to pick from. But when you get to pick from your leader, it's different. When you get to pick who is in that leadership role for you, it's different than aligning with their way of practice or lens for psychology or, theory. It's aligning with their way of advocating within the world. And that is inspirational and motivational in a very different way. So to put that kind of autonomy and choice into a program where you get to identify someone that has the kind of advocacy that you would like to mirror and reflect in your business practice, that's a very different path forward. So I think that's, while the day-to-day is that we had to come up with we're going to spend this number of hours doing this task and this number of hours doing this task. I think being able to listen to her approach to those tasks, the ways that there's influence and leadership and passion and advocacy within those tasks to produce something that adds value to the world is an important part of why mentorship, I think, is unique in whichever industry you choose. I don't know that I will be an IO psychologist forever. I do believe in a lot of the professional advocacy that Elizabeth does.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's super weird to be talked about while I'm here. Just so you know.
That's what you asked me to do.
Darien will do it for me next. It's okay.
I'm kidding. Well, thank you. Yeah. No, I think that's a really cool way of putting it, because I think you're right. That it would be easy to say, hey, we're going to do this assessment, go and, interview the person, give them the tools, do these things, right? But I would agree. I think the conversations we have outside of the actual task is probably, even for me too, I learn from both of you where you're coming from, right? And what your interests are. And then we were able to tailor that even after we kind of had a plan, which I think is funny because I have to say, because we talk about being hybrid and how we have this flexibility. And then here I am, super type A, like making spreadsheets and calendar invites and things like that. So that is me. And that is probably for myself more than
keeping
for
you organized more than anything, I think. But no, I mean, so Kate, you said something about, this formalized mentorship program, having that leader to kind of, have a passion that kind of motivates you. Well, oftentimes coach is used instead of mentor. And that's exactly the reason, is because we coach people to be satisfied in what they're doing and to have a passion for it. Just like a running coach would help someone be more successful in running, motivated to run, disciplined in running. It's not just about motivation, but discipline as well. I do want to bring up one kind of taking us to a tangent here, but there are a lot of informal mentorships, I feel like, in either the PhD or just the regular higher education sphere, and sometimes not higher education, but trade sphere, anything along those lines. But I feel that, when you're going towards a PhD program, people oftentimes have to associate with some sort of professor to help them along the way, even if it's not required. And then even then, I've seen so many undergraduate students that have such a high level, much deeper relationship in the sense of almost comrades or friends with certain professors, maybe one professor, maybe two. And they almost get that informal mentorship because they feel a greater simile with this person. And so for that reason, yes, I think it's all about passion, motivation, values. Formalized programs, though, they allow you to put those calendar invites and the spreadsheets together, I think.
I like my spreadsheets.
Okay. Have you seen, our podcast schedule spreadsheets, all me, and I'm constantly making it better.
I love it. I love it. Oh my gosh. Well, Barbara, I want to bring you back in here. When I just was, if you can retrospectively think back, I'm going to put you on the spot. I'm good at that, which all of our listeners know. When you were trying to decide what you might want to do for mentorship, and what area of psychology you would want to learn about, kind of what did that process look like for you? How did you kind of get to a point where you said, okay, this is the path I want to go down. This is the flavor of ice cream I'd like to try today.
Yeah.
I'm going to use that. I'm going to borrow that forever.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking, at the beginning of the program, I think I had a lot of ideas, a lot of things that I was thinking, every time that I would hear an idea, I was like, I would like to try that, or I would like to try that. Then I got to a part of the program where well, there's no way I can do all of that. I really need to make a list here in prayer, have a priority, right? What would I like to try first? And then I think through my practicum experience, I got to see what things I would not be good at. Or I can rephrase that saying I would be good with that, probably with more exercising of that part of me, right? For example, at the beginning of the program, I was thinking, okay, doing cognitive assessments would be great. I will be out there and probably have my mentorship about that and all that. And then I got to the class and I realized that, that's not something that I'm really passionate about.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds great, and it's very useful, and I do it too for work. I have done it, but it's not something that I will go the extra mile and say, I'm going to go and get more of that. So it got to a point where I was like, not only you need to have this intersection of what you feel that you have a passion about, like Kate was talking about, but also what kind of opportunities you naturally have for. Mm-hmm. I always have been a little bit more connected to the world of work, because my bachelor was in accounting. So this world of business, this making sense, having something that makes you money, basically a business that makes you money. In speaking about psychology, I can do both. Right. I can understand both of those things. So it's not just I'm holding the psychology in one hand. I can hold the business one too. And I think that has been where my interest really got to start with this kind of mentorship. Now, the other thing I have to say about Dr. Fleming is I wanted her to be my mentor because I feel that she's very down to earth with normal things, right? She wouldn't be a mentor that will be expecting me to dedicate my 24/7 to mentorship. knows that I'm running other things, right? That I, just like her, she's running many other things. I think that's important when you're looking for a mentorship. Do we kind of like our styles? Do we kind of match, right?
Mhm.
Because I am doing my dissertation on the side. I am gathering data. I do have a family. I do go to work. So having somebody that can understand that world and match somehow, it's very important. So I think it was that understanding that we match in our styles and understanding too where my world of accounting and psychology comes together and what gifts I have to offer.
Mhm. Sounds like you're playing on the followership, leadership, psychology there. Of you want to have simile, you want to have some sort of belongingness with your mentor, which is so important because you wouldn't be following Elizabeth or you wouldn't be Elizabeth's mentee had you not had that sense of belonging with her. Now, I do have a question for you both. How do you feel working with Elizabeth has, enhanced your learning and enhanced your understanding of what you could do in your careers? Like, has she helped you shape your plan for yourself post graduation?
Loaded question.
Can we make Elizabeth jump off for a second?
I think that one of the pieces that psychologists in general is not emphasized well for psychologists is the role of the business of being a psychologist. We have a lot of the role of how you provide client care and a lot less for the role of business in psychology. And that is one of the things that I feel like the people who have come alongside me and said, nope, you also are entitled to treat this like your business. You have a skill to offer. You are entitled to compensation for that expertise. It is worth advocating for. Those are people that have influenced me to stay structured and strong in creating balance, not only work-life balance, which we talk about a lot, but that professional sacrifice and that professional gain balance. And I think that has been a really strong piece that drew me to continuing to do this mentorship with Elizabeth. That not only do we align, like Barbara said, because I also have a family and chaos and life and things going on too, but also because her role is to say you can have all of those things and still be a professional person and still have things that as a professional person you get to make demands for. You've had all of this training. It is worth something, and this is how you advocate to receive what you're entitled to. And I appreciate that.
Now, what are you hoping to receive?
You know what? I think I'm hoping to receive adequate compensation and a trajectory that values my work.
Mm-hmm.
I think that we are often put in this construct of self-sacrifice. It's for our patients, and that's great. And I have value as well, and there is a role for saying, this is the end of self-sacrifice, and now it's mutual work.
Yeah, mutual benefit. You need to build that. Now, Kate, before we get to you, Barbara, I want to dig more into Kate here. Tell me a little bit about, if you could create that dream trajectory. Maybe it's going to change down the road, as you said. You might not see yourself in the IO field necessarily forever, but where do you see yourself going after school? And has Elizabeth helped you plan that?
Yeah, so I think that a lot of what I see as her role in shaping that scope was the ways that I would like to be. So I really enjoy the overlap between health and psychology. And for me, that means working in a hospital setting where often the influence that you're trying to have is actually over the care team, which may be nurses, maybe aides, maybe surgeons, maybe a pharmacist, the scope that you're looking to is very broad. And so if you're not taking an organizational approach to treatment planning and to the mental health of the day-to-day providers of the clients in your care, there's a significant gap. Because, caregiver fatigue is a real piece of organizational challenge in the overlap between health and psychology. And so conceptualizing client care from an organizational perspective has been really helpful.
Sounds like you have a good plan for yourself. That's awesome, Kate.
That's what I'd like to do.
Yeah. And how about you, Barbara? How has Elizabeth helped you with your career planning, your career trajectory? How she enhanced planning?
Yeah, I think she has been a help even before she was my mentor, my official mentor, right? I remember talking to her when we were in personality assessments. She was teaching too. And I really fell in love with that, with personality assessments, because I did talk about cognitives just before here. But I really love how you can build a story out of a personality assessment. And I love that narrative. So I think from there, talking to her and talking about how you could build a story in IO and benefit the world of IO by that story and giving information to people. I think that's how I kind of like starting to imagine my trajectory. Now, I am not set on being in IO only. I have broader opportunities than that. But one of the things that I think that she has been very inspirational about is making basically a brand for yourself, right? Whatever you're doing, like I have not done my LinkedIn yet, but she invited me to do so.
Know what you're doing later tonight, Barbara.
It's gonna be part of the mentorship, just saying. But all those things, she showed me how that could be seen, like when I'm applying to internship, which is kind of like my next step here. When I am applying for my first jobs and things like that, right? How to put my name out there, how to make those connections. And I think for me that I'm starting in this world of psychology is very important to hear from somebody that has been doing this before, how to make those connections and how to show who I am in a world that is just new to me. So I appreciate that practical, all those practical steps that she has given me.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like having that IO background, it's not just to go into an IO field, it's also to go into any field where you're going to be a leader or where you're going to build leaders. And it sounds like you're already doing that. If not, you're going to continue doing that. So that's great. Elizabeth, glad to hear you're having a good effect on the world, huh?
I guess. Well, I mean, it's a little bit like, I don't know. It feels really good. So thank both of you. So, it's one of those things, like you get into classrooms sometimes and you think, I don't know if this landed. Like, I don't know if people, like they may either think I'm really stupid, right? Because I don't know, or like they think I don't know what I'm talking about, or they don't like me. Like that's what happens and I think I've even said that to the class when I was teaching Kate and Barbara's class, like you kind of get in your head because you're one person with like a lot of eyeballs looking at you, and that's a little bit, it's intimidating at times, but it's also really fun. And I think that's, when we talk about kind of some of those similarities, I think that we have, Kate and Barbara and I, like I like to have fun and I like to make learning fun. I don't really, it doesn't have to be stuffy. I'm not a huge, lecture for 3 hours kind of person. And I know that Barbara and Kate both have been ones that will jump in if I throw Jeopardy up on the board or something like that. And they're like, let's play, let's go. And I think those are the students for me that are really excited. Like that's exciting and fun. So thank you both for kind of making that transition for me a lot easier. But I would be remiss if I didn't say, because I know, Barbara, you said you don't know if you'll stick down the IO path, and totally cool, support you any way you go. But I will say your dissertation has a slight tinge to IO, a slight nod, if you will. And I'm curious if you'd be willing to share about your topic and the data you're gathering right now.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and that's what people have told me. More than one person told me that, and I was thinking, yeah, perhaps that's where my heart is, and I haven't even declared that. So yeah, my dissertation is about job satisfaction in people with chronic health conditions. So these all started for me because my mom had a chronic health conditions growing up, and she brought so much joy to people through work. She felt so valued with the skills that she was sharing. She was a hairstylist, And she just made people feel beautiful. I remember her going to the hospital where she was, going through different beds, cutting the people's hair and doing things just to make them feel beautiful. So she found a lot of joy in that. And when I started psychology, I was wondering, how can we do to find the factors that will bring this kind of joy to people? How can this be a saving point for somebody that is perhaps going to so many appointments, taking care of so many things? This is so present for them, this chronic illness. How can we do so job would be a good thing instead of, oh, I need to go to work again, or I have all these microaggressions going on in my work. Oh, they're gonna be making comments about me again. Like, so I have three factors within my dissertation that I want to know more about: is relationship to pain, relationship to supervisor, and in the relationship people have to self-efficacy at work. So we're gonna see which one weighs more. And for that, of course, I want to hear all about what people have to say and have the voices of the people heard. Sometimes it's difficult to find people that are at work with chronic health conditions, but even people that are part-time at work can participate in this survey.
Yeah. I think for Darien, who's behind the scenes with us, if you could jot down a reminder, I think that would be an interesting poll for us to do. Which one of those three factors do people believe will kind of come out in the end as being the, most related to job satisfaction? And then Barbara, you'll have to make sure we can share your final dissertation, if you're okay with that, with everyone.
So that will be great.
The answer is.
Yeah, I have my suspicions to what would be. But I'll share it so people can share their thoughts.
We do like an impromptu poll right now. What I'm curious what everyone on the call thinks will be the.
I was going to put you on the spot to make you say what you think. So go ahead.
Oh, no, I started first. Someone else.
No, you have to go. You put us all on the spot. So your turn.
Okay. So same again, Barbara. It's self-efficacy.
So work self-efficacy, right? So then relationship to pain and relationship to supervisor.
I think it's relationship to supervisor. That's my prediction.
I think it's work self-efficacy.
Ooh. Kate, what do you think?
I'd go relationship to supervisor.
All right.
I think the relationship to supervisor and the work self-efficacy are going to have a really high correlation, I will say, because I think your supervisor, your leader, your mentor, your coach can make or break you sometimes too.
Mm-hmm.
So there is a dangerous side to mentorship, I would say, at the same time, if you don't choose the right one for yourself.
That's true. Same as with an executive coach and all of the things. Yeah. Okay. So Barbara, what do you think? What's yours?
I think it's the relation to supervisor, and that's what I put in my proposal, because you need to put a part where what do you think it will be more loading to, right? To that side. In one of the things that I put in there is, I think it is that because there's a healing part that you're expecting in a relationship with a supervisor, that if it doesn't happen, it's really like this breaking situation, right? And there's many people that have had experiences like that. In fact, one of the questions that we have in the survey is, have you ever asked for accommodations? And what was the result of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did your supervisor kind of treated you different after, or did you get the accommodations you were asking? And so it depends. And there's some places where people don't even feel comfortable to even disclose that they have a chronic health condition.
Right.
So let's ask for an accommodation.
I mean, I think of like previous workplace trauma people have that they bring to the workplace, and then they're almost afraid to reach out to their current supervisor. The only reason I say work self-efficacy is because, you change jobs. So your relationship to supervisor is going to change depending on the supervisor, depending on the leader. That's the only reason I say that. And I know that, the people that feel more autonomous, feel more independent in some way, shape, or form, really own themselves, tend to have a higher satisfaction. So I don't know. Well, I'm excited to see the results of this, Barbara.
Yeah, I'm excited too. And if you want to talk more about it in the future, we can have a whole episode.
Okay.
I think Barbara, you and I are going to be talking more, because you definitely are kind of hitting the head on a lot of things that I do focus on. And that's like that belongingness at work. And that's, making work not just work, but a part of your life. You're having a bigger impact on the world because of your work. And so work is not stressful. It's not something that you drag your feet going to. It's something that you want to go to, you enjoy doing, and is having a greater effect.
Yeah. And if you think about it, people work, like if you think 8 hours a day, that's just a big part of your day. You come at the end of the day home. So if
Yeah.
you find that joy at work, then you are having a really bad day. Like just thinking about your experience, even getting there. Like I said. So this is such an important part of being an adult. And this is part of the studies too that says, it's a hallmark basically of being an adult is having a job.
Mhm.
Now, how do you take that for yourself? Is this something that brings you something positive or not? It depends, right? But
Mhm.
with health conditions particularly, it's very much it depends on the kind of atmosphere you have at work.
I
Right.
think that's
Maybe Kate. So I was gonna say maybe Kate and Barbara need to team up a little bit.
oh my proposal's about something very slightly different.
Well, yeah, so I'm saying that. I don't think that your dissertations are going to be the same, but I'm saying I feel like you guys have a similar, piece of like health and IO connected, a
Yeah.
connection there. And it's such a broad spectrum. Barbara, obviously, you're getting specific in one way, and Kate, you're getting specific in another, I assume.
Yeah, but I thought it was interesting what Barbara said about the healing of a supervisor and the way you said that like your relationship to supervisor can be pro or con, right? Like good or bad in your experience. And I think that for other people I've talked to, that has been a role of mentorship. That like when within your organizational structure and your supervisory relationship, there's significant drawbacks to that relationship. The role of mentorship and someone who has faced those similar challenges coming alongside you to help you navigate those waters and, kind of get through the ways that they've advocated for themselves in the past and walk you through that process is a really good way around having to stay within that set structure and moving to a more autonomous circle, which I think is valuable.
Yeah.
So it reminds me of those exit surveys you get or the exit interviews you hear of that, someone would come back to the company, but they wouldn't come back to the same department.
Sure.
Yes.
I don't know, just make me think of that because we've had some that have happened like that where we're like, what happened? And then we've had obviously management turnover since then for good reason.
Yes. Yes. Well, I know, I'm kind of just looking at the time, and as we all have families, I'm sure we all want to get back to them, but I would like to ask you each one last question, which is what advice would you give to others, students or professionals or whomever who would maybe want to do a mentorship program like this? What advice would you give them? What's needed?
I think if I was going to pick, it would be to find someone who, one, challenges you in new ways, just does things well that are not your strength, right? Something that is outside your box. Elizabeth and I talk often. I remember the first time that we had to do a PowerPoint in her class. And she was like, you need to make it pretty. And I was like,
Oh, I think, hey, does that sound familiar to our IO behind the scenes?
okay, I will go make it pretty, right? Like I'm an ideas man. I like to write. I would like to create the narrative. I like to create that structure. I like to tell the story. I like to put the puzzle pieces together. I do not want to go and make it beautiful for my presentation. And just challenging me to grow in ways that were going to benefit me as a psychologist, not to motivate me to do the things that I found hard. And with so much compassion and joy and someone that you find inspiring as well, right? So that challenges you to grow in new ways with inspiration to do things the way that they're doing them, and kind of a path you would like to trail to.
Love that.
Great.
I love that. How about you, Barbara?
Yeah, for me, I think find your passion, what you're passionate about. That would be the first thing. Just coming back to the ice cream part, we cannot try everything, but we can try one thing like at one time, right? So finding that, making that list that will guide you to what is the thing that you are more inclined to try now, and then finding a person that inclines to be like, it's inclined to be more like your style, but not just like I say, it's not like you're not looking for a copy of you. looking for somebody that will be able, you have a trusting relationship with this person, kind of able, she's going, in this case, right? She's going to be able to tell you, no, this is, we know the places or other things that you can do about this, or this could be easier for you to do, or give you suggestions. And you have that kind of trusting relationship where they have your back. And I think that that's important when you're just starting, because we hear so much about being willing to receive feedback, but it really goes to how you are giving that feedback to, and the styles come together, right? I can receive feedback from Dr. Fleming all day long because we're gonna speak that same language, right? But it would be difficult for me, perhaps, if somebody will come in a different way that I'm not used to, and I need to get used to that. And that's a challenge too. And I'm not saying that we need to be not flexible, but in a mentorship situation, I think it's ideal to have that kind of same language.
Yeah, thank you. I think kind of this idea, I love what you're saying about feedback. I think that is so vital. And I do see it always as a two-way street because, Morgan and I, both as mentors, like we need that feedback too, so we can make that the experience better. Right. I mean, I think it's just really important, but something both of you hit on is kind of this sense of trust, and building that trust so that feedback, is coming from a good place, whether it's both of you providing me feedback or me providing you feedback. Like, I think that is so vital. And honestly, I've done a lot of thinking about this, and kind of, you brought this up, Kate, about kind of the path, right? Like, even I remember starting in the program, because for our listeners, I graduated from the same program that Kate and Barbara are getting to the end of right now. So I have a degree in counseling psychology, and Morgan and I, this is part of where we kind of hit it off talking about this, is the path was not for me to be a therapist, to be a psychologist. That wasn't my path. And I didn't know that until I took the opportunity to find people in the world who could, provide some mentorship and guidance around that. And so I think it's just important for all of our listeners to know that whether you started in accounting with your bachelor's degree, right? Or one of my colleagues who is an English major and knows so many more words than I could ever possibly imagine in the world and is now a psychologist. That's a shout out to Dr. John right there, in case Kate and Barbara didn't know. Like, I think about it, and not everyone has to follow the same path. And I didn't follow the same path as all of my cohort members. And I think it's what you make it, right? It's where your passion and your joy and that fulfillment comes from. That is most important. So I'm excited to see where y'all go next. And even when this formalized mentorship is over, I hope that we all stay connected, because I think it'll be really cool to see. So
yeah, definitely tell Elizabeth, and we'd love to know where you guys go with it. And we'd like to know how things change for you as well, because that's something that we love to learn about is, how has our mentorship not only led you in the direction you've gone, but how have you changed since then? We want to hear about it from our mentees across time that we work with. So I'm excited to hear what you guys do.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you both for being here today. We really, really, really appreciate it. And we'll stay in touch. So thank you both.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Well, this concludes another intriguing episode of Organizational Sherlocks. I'm Elizabeth Fleming.
And I'm Morgan Ashworth, reminding you that the journey to success is an ongoing investigation.
Stay curious, stay strategic, and keep utilizing insights to decode your business mysteries.
Join us every Tuesday for your next Whodunit. This is Organizational Sherlocks, closing today's case.
See you all next time.